eat whatever grass is there, and there's always grass. Lions die of starvation when they can't find animals to hunt. Lions that die during hunting. They get kicked by a zebra, get kicked by a giraffe, get kicked by a wildebeest. And it's easy for a lion to say, actually, you know what, this thing of hunting doesn't make sense. It's high risk, I could die. I'm going to go be like a sheep and just graze on some grass. But how many of us know that that wouldn't work for a lion? The grass also has nutrients, right? It's got some protein. We've seen cows survive on grass and they can get pretty big. Elephants eat grass and they get big enough. So you would think that if a lion just eats enough grass, surely it'll get full. But the reality is, you can't get enough of something that's almost enough. In the end, a lion is a lion. It's a carnivore. It needs meat. And unfortunately, it has to stand up and be a man and go and hunt for its meat and risk death. And quite similarly, if we go to the romantic space, some of you guys obviously will be looking for a wife soon, maybe next year, 2 years' time. Longer? Okay, maybe in 3 years' time, you'll be looking for a wife. How many of us know already that some of you guys use the analogy of drawing in sports? It's like kissing your cousin, right? It's like, can you really call it a victory? So for me, the analogy of the lion trying to eat grass is similar to you being too afraid to go out there and bump into a stranger and take the risk of being rejected and asking her out. And you're like, actually, you know what? I've got a cousin in Houghton. No matter how good you make that kiss, right? It won't qualify as something romantic, right? It'll never be enough. You can try and go and kiss her every Saturday, every Sunday for a whole year. It still won't be good enough. Just like if the lion keeps eating grass for 5 years, it still won't be good enough. It needs meat. How many of us know that if you get 49% 100 times, it still won't be a 50, right? You still can't pass. Who's been for surgery recently? You went for surgery. If you went to almost qualified doctors, would that be enough to fix, what did you need surgery for? Your shoulder. So if you went to 100 almost qualified doctors, would that have been enough to fix your shoulder? No. Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say. You can try and get more and more and more of something that seems good enough, but it's not quite good enough, and it'll never quite be enough. And I want to tie that back to our motto of take courage and be a man. What does it mean? So in our times, guys, unfortunately, we face the problem of what we call the existential vacuum or existential crisis. Who's come across that term before? Talk to us, please, sir.
It's when you're not sure about your identity in the world, so you don't know how to understand. You don't know who you are or why
you should live. What's your purpose? And at the extreme end of existential crises is nihilism, right? Where it's like everything is meaningless, there's no point of living. And at the extreme end, you might even feel like, let me take my own life. Or stop, take care of yourself and just become someone who stays at home and eats yourself until you live with your 800-pound life because you fail to find meaning in the world, right? Just like that lion who tries to eat grass because it's easy and eventually something goes wrong. It's like, it's not quite working. And so that's the real problem we face, and that's why it's important for us St. Davids to hold on to, take courage and be a man. And the thing about the existential crisis is that it's not our fault. One thing happened a couple of hundreds of thousands of years ago. When we became human, we developed reason as human beings, and we sort of distinguished ourselves and separated biologically from animals, where we developed reason and we were no longer governed by instinct. It meant that we get to make choices of what we do. We lost the privilege that dogs have and that lions have. They don't have to think about what they do. They follow their instincts. They're thirsty, they go for water, they feel hungry, they hunt, they want to play, they play around. If you want to take that territory, you go and you dominate those animals, you win or you lose, and you do that. Unfortunately, we lost that with reason. And there's good parts and bad parts to that. The good part of it is that it's made us able to delay instant gratification for the future. China's got a 50-year plan, 100-year plan, and that's the benefits of having reason. But unfortunately, it also means that we've lost that instinct. So we have to not decide what we want to do and what we want to live for. And the second thing that put us in this place where we have to face existential crises is the fact that we've sort of lost a lot of our traditions and cultures. Where before in the past, tradition told you what to do, right? You're now 13 years old. Well, in some stages, you have to go and get married. You're now 18 years old. You must go get married. You belong to royalty. You must go find a partner from a family that's of equal worth to then strengthen the bonds so we can be able to survive any incoming attacks. So it was easy. We knew what to do. All of a sudden now we've fixed all those problems and now we have to decide for ourselves what we want to do. And so the struggle for survival has subsided. It's gone. However, the new question is survival for what? What should I live for? And some of us have tried to answer that question with, I must live for the pursuit of pleasure. So things like gluttony, hedonism. Gluttony, hedonism, anyone know the meaning? Hedonism, Christian school, Catholic school? Okay, hedonism simply just means that you respond to your human impulses. Gluttony means greed. So you just try and fill yourself up with as much pleasures as possible, as many cars as you can, as many cokes as you can, drugs, alcohol, whatever you feel like will make you happy. You want to maximize instant gratification. But we've tried that, and most of us know that that doesn't really work. It falls short of satisfying that need. It's no different to us trying to eat grass and thinking if we have enough of that grass, it's going to fulfill us as lions. That lion mentality in you says, there's something not quite right with this grass. It's not quite meat enough. And we know that boredom is deadly. Those of you who are nerds and watch YouTube have seen the experiment where they put people into a room and they give them an option. Either you sit for hours doing nothing quietly, or they give you a button you press, and every time you press it, it just shocks you a little bit. And almost everyone chooses to press the button just to get a shock. Anything to avoid boredom. And that's why many of us are vaping. How many of us are gamblers here? We're gambling. How? No gamblers. We're vaping, we're gambling. We're giving teachers a hard time. We're giving our parents a hard time. We're seeking attention in random ways. Some of us are having hairstyles inappropriate, wearing the wrong socks. Just something to kill the boredom. And so, because we've got the means to live, but we're not sure, we have the means to live, but we don't have a meaning to live for. And so, we find ourselves in a place where many of us tell ourselves, I've got nothing to live for. And that brings me to someone who inspired this speech for me, a gentleman by the name of Viktor Frankl. How many of us have come across him? Viktor Frankl? Okay, cool. Dr. Viktor Frankl is a Holocaust survivor. He was in one of the concentration camps during the horrible times of the SS, and he got to witness the best and the worst of humanity. He got to experience the worst, obviously, in the SS soldiers who made human life very cheap and made people suffer and die through starvation and disease, and also obviously through physical violence with guns. But also got to see the best of people. They saw prisoners who were willing to sacrifice their last bit of bread and their last bit of soup to save a comrade who was dying. But they also got to see some of their comrades who were suicidal, who asked that exact question. What should I live for? Life is miserable, life is horrible, there's no sense of hope. What should I live for? And then he quickly realized that those who survived that were the people who have what he calls the will to meaning. And it ties in with another philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, who's come across him. Oh, guys, aren't you reading? Okay, it's fine. We'll fix that. So Friedrich Nietzsche was a German philosopher, and one of his most famous quotes is, "He who has a why to live can endure anyhow. He who has a why to live can endure anyhow." And so part of what I want to say is that in answering the question of what does it mean to take courage and be a man, how to do it, you guys have answered that. You've decided to find a reason to live. I'm gonna live for my brothers, I'm gonna live for this team, I live for the badge, and I'm gonna do everything it takes. Some of you guys have played with broken fingers. Some of you guys have played when you know that your knee is not fine, because you decided to find meaning for yourself. You took courage and you became a man. And so my main point is this, that when they say take courage and be a man, they simply mean seek out responsibility, and only there you will find meaning and the reason to live. And even though there's more danger in seeking out the meat, however, you'll find more reward than trying to settle for something that's not quite good enough, it's almost good enough. The grass will never be good enough, TikTok will never be good enough. You need to take on responsibility and be someone who does something that's difficult and that you'll be proud of. Thank you very much.